Hey class, this is Mr. Baker with this short tutorial for students who will be taking the STAR A version of the algebra test this May. Again, most of you will be taking the regular paper version offered in the school, but a few of you qualify for the STAR A. It's a computer-based version of the test. It's for students who have some kind of cognitive need to use an alternative form of the test, whether you have reading difficulties or anything like that, really. And if you know you have that, then this video is for you. If you're not sure, if you know that you don't have it, then you can go on to continue with whatever you were doing, playing some Angry Birds or whatever. Probably on that crack trivia game, aren't you? As I thought. Okay, well, for those of you who are following along still, thank you for following. You will find the tutorial if you look up Google. You can STAR A student tutorial. All right. And again, you'll be taking this in school in a couple of months here. They'll be going through it. They actually have a script of exactly what they have to say. I just wanted to show you real quick a little short video about what it looks like and show that you can access this from home or from school anytime you like. If you pull it up, the Google search, I'll give you a word of warning, don't touch this one, STAR L. You're not taking the STAR L. I did that once and I messed up. So if you click the first one there, it shows us the STAR A resources, and if you scroll down here, one of these says EOC student tutorial, right? So the algebra test is an EOC end of course test because it's the end of algebra. This is also the same place you'll find, in fact, this exact same program here opens up on Java will be tutorials for the biology, if you're enrolled in biology, as well as for the English 1 STAR A tests. All right, while this is popping up here, let's see. Oop, hold on. What is this? Okay. Let's reload this. Okay, here it comes. So while this is loading up, I will say that the strategy we're learning in class about highlighting and marking and things like that all apply to the computer-based version as well. Just on the computer, you have some more advantages that you wouldn't necessarily have on the paper test. It'll save you some time and make things easier for you. As you can see here, this pops up the regular STAR front cover of the test. On test day, it won't say student tutorial, right? It'll say Algebra 1 exam. And for the main how to use this screen, we have our mouse cursor. You move the mouse around, you have these different things down here. I'll get to what those mean in just a few minutes. As well as this one. Right now, we're interested in is next. On the test, as you're taking it, as you push next, it'll go between questions. So you can see when you go to the next problem, it'll go to the next. If you want to go to the previous page, you hit previous. So right now, we have the couple pages of reference materials pop up for the Algebra 1 test. You guys have seen this before in your journals as well as on the wall of my classroom. We got formulas for slope of line, among other things here that you'll be using on the STAR test. And the second page looks very similar, just has other formulas for geometry. All right, the third page of the test is like in the paper version, has a graph page, graph paper, right? You can use that to graph, and then here we see a stop sign, just like on the regular test. This signifies that you should stop before you go on to the next section. All right. Okay, as we go on, we see a review page. This pops up after every section of the test, and it's more useful as you go on and actually are working on different sections. We'll see in a few minutes. Right now, it does give you an overview of what we're looking at. So this is what we just did, right? We had the introduction page, we had the pages of formulas, the page of the graph paper, and that big old stop sign was on. For right now, we're going to continue. All right, this gives us an overview of the tutorial. As you can see, we have a tutorial on algebra, biology, U.S. history, English 1, and English 2. So this year, you guys will be taking the English 1 and the algebra. And if you're enrolled in biology, you'll be taking that one as well. All right, so this is our first problem on the tutorial. And as you can see, right, it's a math problem. We got multiple choices here. And interestingly enough, whenever you run this tutorial, it does randomize the questions. So every time you run the tutorial, you get a few different questions. They all do come from past STAR tests. I recognize these questions. We have here a balance and a graduated cylinder are used to determine the density of a mineral sample. The sample has a mass of 14.7 grams and a volume of 2.2 cubic centimeters. What is the density of the mineral sample? Now, I just read that out loud, but in case you want the computer to read to you, that is an option here. You'll see this accessibility panel that you can move around. You can click on it, move it around. It has 4 options that are always available on all sections and all tests, whether it be the algebra, the English, the biology, whatever. And you can minimize it, Click this little arrow, makes it go smaller. And the 4 options are, number 1, text to speech. So you can actually have this play. I hope it picks up on my microphone here, but just a minute here.
A balance and a graduated cylinder are used to determine the density of a mineral sample.
Okay, if you push pause again, it pauses it. And so you can have the computer read the problem too. It'll also read the answer choices. If you push rewind, it goes back to the beginning of the problem. And you have volume controls to make it softer or louder as you like. You also have the playback rate. You can make the person speak slower if they're talking too fast.
A balance and a graduated cylinder.
Or make them talk really fast.
A balance and a graduated cylinder are used to determine the density of a mineral sample.
Wow, that's pretty fun. Okay. We also have the option of, instead of having the computer read the entire thing, we can have them just read a few things. So we could say, okay, I want you to read this answer choice to me.
0.15 grams per centimeter cubed.
Okay. And if you click
32 grams per centimeter cubed.
I wasn't expecting, there we go. So they read through the answer choices. If you click words only, right, you can actually have them just read one word. Like, I'm not sure what this means.
Graduated.
Graduated. Oh, okay, I know what that means. I hope to do that in a few years here. So, all right, that's the text-to-speech option. Other things we can do here, I gotta turn this off, okay, is you'll notice that some of these words, well, one in this problem is underlined in a blue dotted line, the word density. And that means we can click on that word and something will pop up. So in this case, we clicked on density, that pops the formula for density. It's kind of useful, especially since we're having to use that here on the problem. Okay, and other times there might be underlined words that you can click on to have a dictionary give you the definition or synonym for the word. In the next problem we'll see an example of called a rollover, but we'll see what that looks like. Up here you can see you have different things you can use. You can use a highlighter to highlight different lines, different things. You can use the eraser to erase any highlights or any pencil markings. You have a pencil marking here, you can use some scribbles and take notes on the side of the page here. You also have a notepad that you can use if you want to type up your notes. A calculator. Okay. And there's actually 3 different types of calculators. The graphing calculator is nice, but it's a TI-84, which we are not using. I'll have to check to see if we can get the TI Inspires handhelds actually in the class when you're taking the test, because that's what most of you are using this year. But there is a TI-84, and there's also, if you just want to use a basic scientific calculator, or even a more basic 4-function calculator. Right? Those are available to you as well. You click on this one, the exhibits. That gives you your 2 reference pages. Let's see. And it gives you, let's see here. Let's go back to here. Okay. So it gives you your graphing calculator. It also gives you your reference pages and your graph paper. You can use those. Interestingly, when you pull up your graphing paper, right? Let's see here. You also have the option of putting points on it with this little minesweeper looking thing, right? And you can put lines on there if you like. So you can actually create graphs on the graphing paper. It's kind of nice. In fact, you could create lines anywhere you like, but I don't know why you would put it on here and not on the graphing paper. We have a help menu in case you want to know more about those things. And that's pretty much it for this problem. So we got another problem up here now that's talking about some algebra. And you'll notice this one's not multiple choice. This has a fill in your answer, right? So on this one we might have to work through it and type in our answer right here. So we grab the cursor and go down here and type in whatever our answer is. Apparently my keyboard's not really responsive here. There we go. This button here shows me that I have a rollover option to help me out. If you click on this, it's kind of cool what happens here. In fact, this is a really cool option, guys. You click on this and it rewrites the problem. And it makes it just simpler to read. You have this introduction line. You have, hey, look at this. Some really important information bulleted. And you're given the functions here bulleted. I mean, it makes things so much easier to comprehend when you click that little rollover. You want to get rid of it, you can push the X. All right, but it's there to kind of help you out, especially if you have problems reading through big paragraphs, things like that, it'll give you a more approachable reading format there. Let's say I don't know what the answer to the question is, or I want to come back to it later, I want to skip it. You do have that option of marking it, just like we do in class, so you can mark it right here, flag for review. Okay? So I'll flag it, and that way I can come back to it anytime later. If I go on to the next problem, I've got a problem about, let's see, you'll notice I got a problem here that asks you for the standard form of the line that passes through 2 points. Again, I could have that read aloud to me, right? The other thing I can do, let's say I have a problem seeing this small font, I can zoom in on my page. All right, I can make it, I can drag it around and actually see the screen become bigger, so you can zoom in. All right. This entire sentence has an underlined blue thing you can see here. So if I click on it, it gives me my 3 forms of a line that might help me solve this problem. Right? This comes exactly from the reference materials again, but it's kind of nice if you go, instead of having to go back here and look at them right here, just bring them up on the actual problem you're on. It's a really cool feature for the computer-based test. You guys have an advantage over those who have to take the paper version and flip back and forth all the time. Again, you can answer questions multiple choice by clicking on the answer like this. Say I think it's C, and I can go on to the next question. Now before I get there, because this is only 2 questions on the tutorial here, we're almost done, I want to show you the color and contrast option on the accessibility panel. You can make the computer look a little different. You can make it negative, you can make it look yellow or green or purple. This is can be useful, especially for some kind of reading disabilities, or if you have a mild form of autism or something like that. A lot of those kinds of students benefit from having colored overlays on their written papers, and you can mimic that on the computer. And the last thing we have is a place marker, which looks like a little yellow highlighting line that you can move up and down. It basically functions as the bookmark that you would receive on the paper version of the test if you asked for it. Okay, so you can use that as you're reading along and help yourself keep track of where you're at. Before we go on, I do want to pull up the section review. You can pull this up at any time during the test, and it shows you exactly what all the questions you've answered and which ones you've gotten, you've flagged, and kind of where you're at on the section. Right? You can see exactly what you've done so far and how much you have left to do. So right now I can see on this section I only have 2 questions. Normally you'll have a lot more than 2 questions on a section. But I can see which ones I flagged to come back for it later. If I skipped it or whatever, I can see whether I answered it or not. This one said I answered. This one said I didn't answer it, so I got to go back at some point. And actually, even if you're on question like 36, you can go onto this screen, click on question 1, and it goes right to it. All right, and go back and answer it. So this is again another cool thing, you guys, on the computer test. You don't have to worry about bubbling in the wrong question on the answer sheet. You don't have to worry about having to flip through pages. I can unflag it here. I can just always jump from question to question using the section review page. If I click next, up should come the stop sign because that's the end of the section. And then after that, it shows me my review again of the section. All right. Now you guys on the tutorial will be taking the rest of these biology, English 1 if you're taking those this year, but I'm not going to go through the English 1 reading tutorial. That's it for that. You guys, again, you can look at this anytime you want. You can Google it and find it and work through it and kind of play around with the overlays and the different accessibility options, just like we're doing in class, and see what works best for you, what you like to use. Other than that, I'll see you guys later, and good luck.